This is a public service announcement about the PlayStation 5. Skip it up and that up. No, that intro wasn't clickbait. This extra bonus I have coming from PressStart.com by Shannon Grixty in regards to the lack of space inside the PlayStation 5. But then I'm going to talk about a mistake I made that you wouldn't even think is a mistake, but I should have looked into it first. I'll admit fault. But I want to make sure you don't do the same thing. I ended up having to reformat or factory reset my PlayStation 5 last night because I did this. Anyway, let's start off with this PressStart.com article where he talks about his PS5 already being full just from the launch titles, which shouldn't be a thing. Anyway, this is what he had to say. Then we'll discuss. Then I'll tell you what I did, how I blew it.
You blew it.
I get that I probably got a few more of the launch titles than the average person, but as of today, my PS5 SSD is full. This is without a single PS4 game on the internal hard drive. Same with me. It's worth mentioning that this is without having NBA 2K21 installed, which is one of the largest PS5 games at over 100 gigabytes. So I very well could have filled it a lot earlier. I also didn't have Bug Snacks installed either, but that's only a smaller game coming in at roughly 10 gigabytes. Earlier today, I went to install Watch Dogs Legion after the free upgrade finally appeared for me, and I had to choose to delete a game to fit it on. Definitely something that I was accustomed to doing on the PS4, and also something I deal with quite often on the Switch, but there's at least ways to expand storage for those consoles if I want to fork out the money. And I think that's the thing that bothers me the most about the PlayStation 5. I understand why the NVMe slot is disabled. They want to make sure the proper drives are out in the market so people don't put under-spec'd M.2 drives in that PCIe NVMe slot and they're like, hey, I bought this NVMe drive from Walmart that's PCIe 3.0 and no way can handle the read and write speeds of the PlayStation 5. Oh, gee, why is it not working? They want to make sure the drives are out there. I'm sure Sony's going to release a list of drives that are compatible, so I understand why it's disabled. But Sony, why didn't you do what Microsoft did, where you could at least, like, dump the games onto an external drive, the 9th gen games onto an external drive, and when you're ready to use them again, dump them back on the SSD to play them? You're leaving people stranded, and it's a pain in the ass, especially in areas where people either have slow internet or capped internet. So if you have to download, say you have an internet cap of a terabyte a month, and you have to download a 100 gigabyte game multiple times because you have to switch games back and forth because you don't have enough storage, you'll hit that terabyte cap in no time. Hopefully people have more than terabyte caps, but some people don't, and that sucks. That sucks, and you're leaving a lot of people screwed over with this, and it's not like, oh, I'll just go out and buy the disc version of the game. That'll save me. It doesn't really save you storage. Because the games have to, because they need those fast I/O speeds. They can't just read the data off the disk. It has to be on the SSD. So that's not really going to help people either. You really screwed the pooch with that, Sony. There should have been some way to use that external storage, just like Microsoft is doing, so you could at least store the games on an external drive. And when you're ready to play the 9th gen games again, you put them on the SSD so they could work properly. You blew it with that.
You blew it.
You blew it. And speaking of blowing things, that wasn't right. That didn't sound right. I blew it yesterday when I went to move my external storage and I'm only using for PS4 games to another USB port. This is the drive I was using. This is a great drive. This is a Sabrent external NVMe SSD drive, super fast read and write speeds. So I put my PS4 games. This is what I was dedicating to use that. I was going to put them all on here, so I just had the internal storage for PS5 games, just like Shannon was doing. So my PlayStation 4 was in standby mode, and one of the mistakes I made is I had this plugged into the front USB-C port. The PS5 with the disk drive is in my living room. There's a lot of traffic there. It was bound that someone was going to bang into the USB-C port in front of the PS5 and break it, so I'm like, let me just move it to the back. The system's in standby mode. This isn't the main drive. I shouldn't have to eject this drive or safely remove it, right? I was thinking, Rich, you probably should go check, but I'm like, come on, man. It's 2020. The system's off. This isn't the main drive. I'm not like I'm running an operating system on Windows from an external drive while it's running and just unplugging it. So I'll just move it to the back while the system's in standby mode. Oh, dear God, what a train wreck. Oh, dear God. Don't do that. The PlayStation 5 doesn't like it, even though I moved the same drive to the back and it wasn't accessing it because it has a light on there. Man, it said the drive was corrupted. It tried to repair it. It couldn't repair it. And I had so many PS4 games installed to it. Most of my library now, for obvious reasons, is PS4 games. And the system was just acting off that I was just like, I'm just going to I'm going to factory reset the console, which took a long time. And the weird thing is that it couldn't repair this drive. And the drive works great on Windows still. I reformatted it. I did a long reformat on it. And this still won't. It won't. It's like, oh, if I try to plug it into my PS5 says, oh, we just need to reformat your drive. Now it won't reformat it. So yeah, for the love of God, even if it's an external drive that you only have PlayStation 4 games on and you're not, that's all it's being used for. Even if your system is in sleep mode, you unplug an external drive from the PlayStation 5 without safely ejecting it in the settings. It's a disaster. It's a disaster. And look, that's my fault. I shouldn't have just assumed that the PS5 UI acts like a Windows operating system. I should have checked into it first. I'll be the first to admit that. But to make that such an inconvenience where just while the system's in sleep mode, just swapping it to a back USB port, because I didn't want anyone to knock into this drive because it was plugged into the front USB-C port. And you can't store your PS5 games temporarily on an external SSD on the PlayStation 5. To make it such a pain in the ass is a pain in the ass, Sony. I don't know. Look, here's the thing, and I'm going to say this right now, and it's going to be wildly unpopular. My editor agrees with this, and we get crap for it on social media all the time. These consoles could have waited until 2021 to come out, like spring. Hell, Nintendo released the Switch in March of 2017, and the Switch was wildly successful. The hype would have been there, and I feel like they could have ironed out more bugs. Maybe we could have waited. I know Halo Infinite, Lord knows when it's coming. Maybe Microsoft could have had some more desirable AAA platform exclusive games on their console. Who knows? But I just feel like when I turn on these consoles that they weren't ready. And it's understandable they weren't ready. We're in the middle of a pandemic. There's so many other, it's an unprecedented time that we're living through. And I just feel like 2021, the first half of 2021 would have been the right choice. So more bugs could have been ironed out and we could have had a more enjoyable experience. Look, I know whenever these consoles were launched, they're new hardware and there's bugs that are going to need to be ironed out that we'll find as we use them. But I just feel like they just weren't ready at all. And there are just things that we could have waited for. I mean, if you go by Microsoft having a lack of launch exclusives and that other people are dealing with bugs on the PlayStation 5, what would a few more months been? I know there's people that are going to be pissed off at me saying that, and people were pissed off on social media, but I'm not going to change how I feel. We could have waited till 2021 for these consoles, and things would have been much smoother. Not perfect, but smoother. This is Rich of Review Tech USA signing out. Have a good one. Hey, if you enjoy my content, consider becoming a Review Tech USA member. I'll have a link below in the description. I live stream now on this channel all the time, and it gives you access to cool emoticons to use as well while I live stream. Again, link below in the description. Thank you for your continued support.